Hey guys, this is Ruskin Emergency Alerts, and today I'm going to be doing a collection video of all of my stuff. Because, I was supposed to do one like last year, but I guess I never did. But I'm doing it now. And let's start where it all began. In August 2021, I went to Walmart with my dad and bought this thing, the WR120. I've had this thing forever, and it's pretty dusty. It's connected to this strobe light right here that I'm sure you've noticed. Then, after that, I decided that I kind of liked the hobby, and I bought this guy off of eBay. This thing still works. It is a late version 5. However, it's not what you would call a version 6. It does not have the 100 serial. This one is definitely susceptible to dying, but I have not had that problem, thankfully.
With a slight chance of
The only problem I could say is that one of the screen segments is a little bit messed up. Still works great though. Then after that, I bought this WR400. I've had this thing forever, and I love this thing. Even though it's barely focused on anymore, and it's very dusty. Love that thing. Let's see. What did I get after this? After this, I might have gotten a version 15 HH54, which is probably in the garbage because of certain reasons. Anyways, we'll just stop going by order and just go by whatever it is. This is my Radio Shack 12996. The 996 was always a great radio because I always liked its touchscreen.
cloudy in the evening, and mostly
Great radio. If you can get it, go for it. And for a good price at least. Then, go for it. Eventually I also got this version 16 HH54 VP2. It's, I've had this thing forever. It's great.
highs in the lower E.
This thing is awesome. Now let's go to the 519. So a neat thing about the 519 is that it actually came from my local area, and so I bought it, and then the next day I looked at my phone and it was out for delivery, which was pretty surprising. It does have a little bit of bad speakers on the little bit.
Tuesday night, partly cloudy.
That was just bad signal, but it could be better. Let's head over to this mistake. I call it a mistake because I made a mistake by making the backlight blue. I should have kept it orange, because I liked it much more when it was orange. This is my first EAR10. I really should have kept that thing orange. Technically, I could mod it again for it to be yellow, but nah. I mean, I could, and I might, considering of how dim that thing is. Let's head over to the 2004 261. Had this thing for quite a while. It was recommended by Simplex 2, and I bought it. It's very nice.
60 degrees.
I always thought the 261s were kind of weird because it looks like they're supposed to be laying on their backs, and they're very unstable, but whatever. Let's head over to the 2003 261 now. Now, the 2003 261 is very similar to the 2004 one, but I'll show you some differences. So see right there, you have a Public Alert logo, and on there you have a NOAA logo. This one, you have a NOAA with a radio logo, where the Public Alert logo was, and nothing on that side. I know that this thing is kind of really scuffed, but I got it it was really late at night, and it was pretty cheap, so I bought it. And the main feature about it, so the main thing that most people like it for is it has a really neat test beep, which you can probably hear in a lot of the videos that I publish of weekly tests. And it does that nice test beep. It does not light up the statement light for tests. It's like older statement radios, but not too old. So, in fact, oh, and it also has a yellow watch light. In fact, let me show you guys the
Winds worries.
other light. Look at that. It's green and it's yellow. Green, yellow, red. Okay. Let's head over to the 254. I rarely turn this thing on because, I mean, it doesn't have an adapter. So what I do to not waste a ton of AA's is I actually have rechargeable batteries in there. And that makes it so I don't have to change AA's all the time. Let's head down to the bottom row of the middle shelf. So to start off, we have my version 2 WR100. The first alert on this thing was actually, I think it was a severe thunderstorm watch. I got this thing in, well, I probably bought it in March 2022, but I know I got it in April 2022. Still works great. The only problem that's always been there is that the antenna is very stiff. I mean, when you go up and down, I don't really care about doing it, but it makes a horrible sound. Other than that, this thing's pretty cool. Now, one of my favorite things that I've owned for a long time, the Sangean CO100. This thing is awesome. So, the Sangean, for one thing, if I go here, so, no lights on that, 1047, look at that. It actually has RDS capabilities, which pretty much means that it can get data from the radio station and then it can display it on its screen. And it actually has the ability to automatically set its clock. See this CT button? If you have a local station that supports this feature, so let's see, I'm gonna go to the clock. I'm just gonna set it to manual time, 7:11. Now wait, I'm gonna push this button and watch what happens. Give it a couple of seconds. Wait for it. Come on, Sangean, you're making me look bad. But we have a local station here in Tampa. It's WUSF, and it actually broadcasts the time information in their radio station, time and date. We'll come back to that in a minute. I'll show it to you once it does its thing. This right here it's a bit of a weird recon. It's a 1630A-ish. Now, you might say, oh, no, it's not, because it says advisory statement. Why does it have a high-low switch? That's really all about it. It's got the typical green, yellow, and red lights. Oh, look at that, 1102. I did not adjust that. This right here is my Recom R1650A. It's just a typical 1650A. It's got its memory and all that. Yeah, that's really all there is to say about it. And to finish off the main shelf, this right here you don't see much. It's sort of my box collection. So this isn't just an empty place. I put all my boxes here. Well, not all of them, because it'd be overflowing. Like I got my 993 box, my WR11 box. That right there is my Radio Shack 12247A. And that right there is just something. I don't know. Let's head over here. This is my Midland 74109.
Poke, Hardy.
It's pretty forgotten, but you can definitely still hear it very loudly. That will end it for this main shelf, because we've barely gotten into that. So, jeez, what am I doing with my life? This right here is my first WR300. It's a version 4. Had this thing forever. You can tell it's a version 4 because it does not have that kind of NOAA logo, and it says Hazard Alert Monitor. That's really all there is special about the V4. It also does not die, so that's a neat thing. This right here is the version 8. I just kind of wanted one of these at a point, so I bought one off of eBay. The thing about me, I don't like to get things from the actual seller because typically they're overpriced. The V8 is just like the V5 Deluxe, which has no text at the bottom and that, but if you want a V8 and you don't want to get it from Midland themselves or Amazon, if you go on eBay and find a WR300 either with a new style manual or if its serial starts with at least an 18. If it starts with 18 or higher, then, I mean, it has to look like this too. If it looks like this and the serial starts with 18 or higher, it's a V8. Now V8s, they're like WR300 but with more modern firmware. So listen to the button beeps. It does have a lot of menu lag. And you can't turn off the button beeps, which kind of sucks. But, a general point is that, well, you know, it's a WR300 version 8. This right here is a V1 WR300. Now, chances are this is not going to work, but we'll try.
Copy.
Oh, it worked. This thing has sort of a spotty tuner where sometimes, if you use the weather, it'll just be complete static. Don't blame it on lack of signal, because if you've noticed, I don't have any antennas up. That's because if I were to go outside right now, the transmitter for my local station, and the only station I can get, KHB32, is, well, it's about 2 miles away from me, which is nice. So I really have signal issues.
Coastal waters from Englewood.
So the V1 is absolutely the easiest way to know is that it lacks that public alert logo. That's the immediate signal that it's a V1. And they also do not have any periods in the word same. So that's an easy way to know. Oh, and they also, you know, have a statement light and stuff. It does light up for the test, by the way. Let's head over to, like, the first very rare radio, which is, you know. Now, the thing is, I'd actually wanted this thing for a really long time, and I was bummed out when I found out that you couldn't buy it anywhere, which is the WR301. I love this thing because of its design. I love the mossy oak design on it, and that's why I'd always wanted it. Ever since I'd seen the old SBC Cranford videos, I'd wanted this thing. And eventually, I found one that was new in box on Facebook Marketplace, and after a little bit of convincing, we got the seller to ship it. And there we go, WR301.
Northeast winds around 20 knots.
It did die, as you know, but the thing is, after it died, what I did, in fact, hang on, give me a moment. If you look in this drawer right here, you can see the remains of a V5 Deluxe. That's its shell, and that's its board. Well, that's not the board of the V5 Deluxe, that's the board of the original WR300. See, until Weather Radio Guru found a way to fix broken tuners, the only way to fix WR301s is to get a V5 Deluxe, or really any WR300, take the internals out of it and put it in the shell of a WR300. It's a long process and it can be pretty difficult, but if you know how to solder and stuff, you're pretty much good to go. Because it does require soldering to fix it. Because you need to desolder the cover of the V5 Deluxe, and you also have to do it on the 301. And you also have to desolder the speaker. Because Midland made it so speakers are glued into the case, which is kind of difficult to swap them. So, let's move on. This right here is my AO6 262. Now, I specify that it's AO6 because, as you know, I've had another 262 for a very long time. Well, in about October 2022, I went to turn on the 262, just like this, and it was complete silence. This is not the broken one.
It's a thunder.
The broken one is, hang on. The broken one, here's the broken one. The broken one is right here. This is, my AO8 262. I got this way back. As you can see, it's AO8. While we're in this drawer, let's go over this thing. This is a 522 that I got that died after about 1 day. The 522 is pretty nice. In case I ever get something that doesn't have a belt clip, I actually have this to, use a belt clip on. But it died pretty quickly because it's, you guessed it, an AO8. I like the 522s because, well, they can recharge and they also have the travel home button. But yeah, that's one of the Radio Shack handhelds. Pretty neat. Those are the 2 dead radios that I have. I think so. Should be. Okay, let's head back over here. So, we've gone over the 262. Let's go over another one of the rare things that most people are really sought after. The Black & Silver WR100. This thing is great. It's version 1. There are a couple of version 2 Black & Silvers, but they're very rare. And it's, it's a WR100, but it's a bit different. You can easily tell because, look at it. You can easily tell what it is. And then also it doesn't have periods and same, and obviously does not have a public alert logo. And yes, it does light up for the RWT, which is pretty neat. Pretty much I had found this thing on eBay for like $18. It was new in its clamshell. I just came back from Dunkin' Donuts and for no reason checked eBay and saw it. And I didn't have much money, so I got up, ran to my dad and asked if I could get it. He agreed to it, and Black & Silver. Yeah. So this thing right here, I have to thank Simplex2 for, because actually he bought this thing for me. I don't know why, but he did. So, yeah, thanks for him.
A chance of showers, mainly in
It's
the
my cow. You can hear it in every single one of my captures. It's got a very distinct sound. The only downside is that the backlight has failed on it, but I don't really care. Now let's head over to these things. Let's start out with the Eton Zone Guard. So the Eton Zone Guard is, well, it's an Eton radio, and there isn't much to say about it, other than a really cool feature where the top right here of this entire top part, it lights up like a big beacon. It does actually have AM/FM, contrary to what you would think, and yeah, it's pretty neat. Now, this thing that I'm about to show you gets a lot of hate for what it looks like. The Accurite 08560. Now, this thing is actually a really good radio. It sounds great. It is great. It has a, you can get an adapter for it. It feels really nice to hold, and it's It does actually have DST, which is nice. And you can even hold the power button, and look, NOAA off. It's not monitoring and it's saving its power.
Showers. Saturday night.
It's got a nice speaker too, and obviously the main feature for what it was designed for, it's a big flashlight. This right here I've had for a long time. It's the ER210. The ER210 is nice. I mean, it's just a standard ER210. Not much special about it. This right here gets forgotten about a lot. It's the Eton FR1. This thing you can hear in a lot of my captures because for some reason it goes off very late. Don't ask me why, it just does. Yeah, you can pretty easily hear it in most of my videos. Now let's go to something that is great. The Radio Shack 12993. I love this thing.
Chance of thunderstorms. A chance.
This thing I'd always wanted, and yeah, it's great. Not much to say about it other than I love it. And instead of the typical, see on the 522, which is like just a little bit of a different version of this, it actually has a travel home mode button, but this one does not. If we hold that button where it would have been, it's actually a backlight button. It makes the backlight very bright for about 30 seconds. Pretty neat. So that's it for these things. Ooh, but it's not actually. This right here is my second Midland WR120, which gets forgotten about a lot. The reason I got this is because I actually bought two V8s at a point. And they were both on eBay. Excuse me. Okay, so I actually bought two V8s, and both of them were on eBay. This isn't the first one that I bought. I bought one on eBay, it was an inbox, and it had the V8 box, so I bought it. Big mistake, because when I got it, I opened it, and it was that thing. I messaged the seller about it, and they said that they could either give it away or keep it, and they gave me a refund, which is pretty neat. I like that they gave me a refund for it. So yeah, that's how that thing came to be. Now it just kind of sits there. Let's move on to this guy. It's pretty rare. It's I'm sure you've never heard of it. It's the Optimus CR307. It's a very old radio that is technically a Radio Shack radio. No, you might not believe me, but it is. Pretty sure it's called it's 16 something. I don't know. But you can also just call it the Optimus CR307. It's got AM, FM, and weather. It goes off with a alert tone that you can easily hear. Now let's go on something that Atlantic Canada mistook for an SFA 1150, which a lot of people would. This is the quote-unquote knockoff SFA 1150, as a lot of people try to call it, but it's not. See, Jensen is actually a company that is, First Alert partnered with Spectra. Well, Spectra partnered with First Alert to make all the Spectra SFA radios, which stands for Spectra First Alert. But they did the same thing here. Spectra partnered with Jensen, and I can prove it. Watch this. I'm gonna flip. Let's unplug it. I'm gonna flip this thing over and watch. Where is it? Look at that. Distributed by Spectra Merchandising International Incorporated. Guys, this is a thing that Spectra made. Now the thing is that due to a chip shortage, they actually made this thing 1050 only, and they got rid of all of the display parts on it. Now it's just a giant clock, and every time there's an alert, this thing will light up. And it does have a different siren, unfortunately, because I really like the one on the SFA 1150. But there's not much special about this thing. Now let's move on to this guy. This is the Accurate 08510. The 08510 is, well, it's an Accurate radio. It does do DST and all that. And this, now it turns out there's actually 2 pitches of this, and I have the lower pitch one. A lot of other people I see have the higher pitched one somehow. That's really all I have to say about this thing. Let's go on to the 991. That gets forgotten about a lot.
This afternoon.
It's like the 993, but it's not handheld. Or I could say that the 993 is like the 991, but it's handheld, which would make more sense. But it's also got an orange backlight instead of the white one on that. And there's actually 2 versions of this, and this one is the red logo one. There's one with a white logo too. Now let's move on to something that I was one of the first people in the United States to get, which is this thing. This is the Radicus TR625. I got this in late 2021.
Lows in the.
It's very loud. In case you want it, it's very loud. Now something that you don't hear a lot because you won't be able to hear it. This is unfortunately the loud version of the Honeywell RN507W. I'm not turning on the broadcast because of how loud it is. But it has atomic clock and stuff, as you can see there. If I block out the glare. It actually does have an atomic clock. Well, not exactly. See, the United States has this network of radio stations in Fort Collins, Colorado. It's called WWVB. And it's on a very low frequency, and it can go very far distances. And, well, that's really what what this thing uses. It, WWVB transmits time and data format all day, every day. And that's how this thing is synchronizing. It transmits year, month, date. It transmits all the time data that you need. It also has the ability to show the quote-unquote temperature in your room, but I don't think it works right, because it never seems to be right. So let's go to right here. This you haven't seen much because I didn't get it too long ago. It's the Radio Shack Pro 405. Let's turn it off and turn it on. I'll say, welcome, scanning, receiver, and it's pretty neat. It's the way it activates. It's like before the first header, but like it's right at the beginning of the first header. I mean, now something that you probably forget about a lot is my Recon 1630 C or D, or I don't care.
6 degrees.
It's pretty neat. It's got its memory and all that. Yeah, there's not much to say about it. Now my unmodded ER10. The unmodded ER10 is, well, it's the same thing as the other time, but it's unmodded. Not much to say about it. I like this color display much more. Let's move on to this guy, the WR11. Now, you might have, I wish there was a way to keep the backlight on this thing, but unfortunately you can't. It just kind of does that when it's plugged in. It's very loud, it's very easy to hear, and I love this thing. It's pretty rare, but if you can get it, go for it. It's great. This is the FRX5BT. Again, I got this on eBay, and somehow I actually got it for free, because apparently the seller, without telling me, gave me a refund for it, because supposedly there was a problem in the shipping address, but there wasn't, because it's right here. So technically it's a free FRX5BT, and I can't argue with that. Yeah, there's not much special about that. This right here is the BC370 CRS, very well known for its AM/FM activation capabilities, just like that. You can monitor AM/FM stations. You can even monitor scanner stations, but they shouldn't really be going off for anything, so it doesn't really matter. It also does have the sort of atomic clock feature, but the thing is that on this, the seconds are a little bit faster than they're supposed to be. So over time, this clock will drift away from its proper time, but it does get all of its information the same way. It's pretty neat. I recommend it. Let's go right here, the ER310. It's like the ER210, but it actually has a dog whistle, but I'm not going to be testing it. But yeah, it's pretty much the same thing. Bigger screen and tougher build. Yeah. Let's move on to this guy right here. It's pretty cool. The Eton FR600. It's actually a second header radio, which is pretty neat. And now some people get unlucky and get a really sticky version, but mine is pretty good. It's not really sticky. It's got a hand crank on the front, a display that exists, and actually has alert memory too. Pretty neat. It has multiple things, so we can set it to alert, weather band, off, AM, FM, and shortwave. I haven't really gotten any shortwave stations, but I don't care. But yeah, that's pretty much it with this thing. It's pretty neat. It's got an antenna, it's got a solar panel. I was actually the first person in the EAS community to get this thing. It's called the G-Storm. Now, I was just at Walmart one day and I saw this thing. I thought it was pretty cool, so I bought it. And it does actually have alert, but it's very loud and stuff, so I do not have it on right now. And I actually have it so it's charging my FR600, because it takes a really weird port. It's an old USB thing. But I would have used an ER for it, but it turns out that if you do that, they will not use weather band. So I use this thing, which still has to do alert. Now, something that is pretty rare and hard to get, the Spark SHD TX2. So this thing is an AM/FM radio with HD and HD alert. It's pretty cool. I'm sure you've seen this thing before.
Interesting, because the commercial patients are the ones that have insurance.
Right there, you can see.
Private insurance. They're the county employees,
alert and
the
stuff.
city employees, and the
And also it has
employers
HD,
that pay
cool.
for the.
It's also a very powerful DX. Ooh. I don't know what I did, but no, I just did that. I don't really care.
1%, which means for 51 cents on the dollar. And
if you
it's
have it
those
off
patients.
like this, it is monitoring the alerts, but it will not sound for a test alert, which, whatever. So, yeah, that's that. It does not sound for a test alert if it's off like this, but it will sound off for weather alerts and Amber alerts and stuff like that. Now, you might think that that's it, but I actually have 2 more to show you. And those would be right over here. This right here is a truck tracking scanner, the unit MBCT15X. Not a lot of people have this, but I do. And well, it's a truck tracking scanner. Now something that's really unique is the 08580. Now unfortunately this screen right here has a dying backlight, as apparently that's a problem. But the thing is that you see that right there, outdoor temperature. This thing actually has a thermometer that transmits radio signals to this unit, and it can actually read it to get the pressure, humidity, and temperature of outside. And as well as it being a weather station, it has an Accurate 8550 right next to it that charges on it. Charges on it. So it's a 2-in-1. These things are pretty rare, so yeah, and they're pretty cool. So yeah. Well, that is everything. That's it. So I'll see you guys next time, and adios.